Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Narinig mo?
It's the 6th
Narinig
of
mo?
October. I think we're
Masyadong
having a feedback
mabakman
there.
ang
Gab,
volume.
can we just mute the microphone for Congressman Lagman? Just a minute, Lagman. We have, okay, there, let's fix that problem. First, okay, today is October 6, 2022. It's a Thursday. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. And from the looks of it, looking outside our window, it's going to be a sunny day here in Barrio Capitolio, Pasig. Okay, I don't know how it's going to be for the rest of the country, but kung maglalaba kayo, ay siguraduhin yung magkula na kayo mamaya. Okay, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's get the day started with our daily starter, and it comes from the late Queen Elizabeth II. And it goes, grief is the price we pay for love. Now, you might be wondering, Cito, ano na naman nakain mo? Napaka-solemn, napakalungkot naman ang daily starter mo. No, it's just a reminder for some of us who may be going through the process that grief is a part of life. And in many instances, we grieve because we lost someone we love, whether that person died, passed away, or left our life, or has moved on to other parts. And you grieve. Yung iba nga dyan, hindi naman namatayan, pero nagluluksa. Okay, naiwanan ng kanilang ng true love or yung mga anak. Like in my case, I am an empty nester because my daughter is now situated in the Netherlands, studying there. So we will all go through some form of grief. And we should, I believe, embrace it. Because as Queen Elizabeth said, it is the price for loving and it comes with love. So wag pong ma-depress, but recognize that grieving is part of living, okay? And it is the price we pay for love. Let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star today, October 6, 2022. And the headline, as expected since a month ago or 2 months ago, more rice imports seen. Okay, tell us something we don't already know. The Department of Agriculture and well, actually this one is quite different. Normally, you hear from the Department of Agriculture from Malacanang that we will be importing this, importing that. But in this instance, the report comes from the United States Department of Agriculture that does statistical monitoring of production all over the world or in countries of concern. And the USDA pointed out that it is highly probable that the Philippines will be importing more rice or will be import dependent to maintain our supply of rice. And if that is the case, then you might as well assume that the price of rice will not be 20 pesos per kilo, because when that campaign promise or fantasy was made months ago, the exchange rate was somewhere at 56. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now let's go to the top of the front page. The header, Remulla, or Secretary Crispin Boying Remulla, tells the United Nations the Philippines is strengthening its human rights mechanism. Okay, the DOJ Secretary said, addressed the 51st session of the Human Rights Council and made a presentation of the actions or activities undertaken by the Marcos government. Okay, in the meantime, the Human Rights Watch, the international organization, expressed disappointment because the Council did not take action or make any declarations against the Philippines or its record on human rights. The big photo at the front page of the Philippine Star is a bangka in the middle of a marine park in Palawan, okay? The Siete Pecados Marine Park in a handout from the U.S. Embassy. Papansin ko, mukhang very active itong U.S. Embassy sa kanilang mga handouts and pronouncements. Anyway, that photo is in connection with the Philippines winning the Tourism Award from Condé Nast. We ranked number 30 out of 48 in a study or assessment by the travel magazine Condé Nast. And of course, people are happy about it because they are hoping it will result in more tourists coming to the country. Meanwhile, lower power rates, lower electricity rates are expected as a result of the Energy Regulatory Commission's reset of power transmission rates. Households consuming 200 kilowatt hours are expected to save as much as 47 pesos and 52 centavos from their monthly bill. So that's good news for now. And it will presumably offset what is going to happen from the exchange rate, fuel crisis, etc. That photo of people posing for a picture being taken by President Bongbong Marcos, young members of the presidential Malacanang Press Corps, okay, who took their oath of office yesterday. Lower in the front page, we have BBM giving a speech yesterday for International or World Teachers Day, where the president said, education is the bedrock of a prosperous society. I can only hope and we can only pray that every Filipino, not just those in government, actually take that to heart. Someone had consulted with me the other day, and I said that if you want to be a game changer, or if your organization wants to be game changers, put a little investment in education and help more kids get through college, because a country with a better educated population tends to have a better economy. And I am glad that even the president has made that as part of his speech. Okay. Sadly, okay, measles epidemic hits Metro Manila and 4 other regions. Okay. Ang problema po, our vaccination rate has gone down by as much as 62% in some places, and the measles epidemic is here. Please do not think that it's tigdas lang yan, chicken pox lang yan, etc. My daughter, who is now 21 years old, has batchmates from grade school when they were grade 3 or 4 or whatever that age was, who have the marks in their faces, in their legs, in their arms of keloids from chicken pox, from measles, and some children have died because of measles. Nakakamatay po yan pag nagka-komplikasyon. Huwag niyong ismolin at just-justin. It's not just the measles. It can kill your beloved baby. Okay. Nearly half of 9 million elderly still working and poor, according to former POPCOM Executive Director Juan Antonio Perez III. Sadly, not only are they elderly, mga senior citizens, mahirap na, matanda pa, and when they get sick or when they need medical attention, dinadaan na lang sa dasal at sa tubig, okay? Because they don't have the financial means and they do not have the social support or the know-how to access services. So that is a sad reflection on our nation and our society. That photo there of two gentlemen, that's Newport World Resorts and Palma Buhay Miles Partnership. Photo with Alliance Global Group CEO and Newport World Resorts Chair Kevin Tan with PAL President and CEO Stanley Nang during the launch of the Newport World Resorts All New Rewards Program. Okay, last but not the least, the headhunt is on for press secretary. If you've been watching the news, Trixie Angeles Cruz resigned as press secretary, and as a result of that, there has been a series of sound offs to potential candidates. Cesar Chavez, formerly of DZRH, and I think he still does a program with DZRH, and has made a name for himself as an undersecretary of DOTR in rail for rail and railways. Is one of the candidates, along with Mike Toledo, our colleague under the MVP group, and also former spokesperson of former President Joseph Estrada. And then, of course, another former colleague, Gilbert Remulla, who worked with Channel 2, ABS-CBN Channel 2, and is now working as a member of the board or director of PAGCOR, if I'm not mistaken. So, ayun po, no, yung tatlong yon at may iba pang mga kandidato. We will try to tackle that in the program. Okay, let's now move on. So that's essentially our coverage in the front page of the Philippine Star. If you don't have the solid copy, you can go online. Before we start, I'd like to thank all of you who are subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News on Facebook and on YouTube. Pakikwento naman sa iba. Pass the word on para madagdagan naman ng kahit dalawa yung aking programa. I'm just being funny here. Okay, we have a very interesting guest today. He has just become leader of one of the most historical political party in the country, and he has had a name. He has made a name and a legacy for himself as an opposition legislator and public figure. Let's get to know more about him with this video.
Edcel Lagman is the first District Representative of Albay in the 18th and 19th Congress. Recently, Lagman was named President of the Liberal Party of the Philippines. Being a veteran politician, Lagman has authored several well-known bills such as the Reproductive Health Bill and the Reinstitution of Absolute Divorce Bill.
Good morning, Congressman Lagman. Welcome to Agenda and congratulations if you agree that it is something to be congratulated for.
Good morning, Cito. I am ready to face a new challenge in my political journey.
Akala ko you were going to say, I am ready to face the firing squad. Anyway, well, in all seriousness, Congressman, congratulations. And, when I read the information about you becoming president of the Liberal Party, it kind of brought me back to down memory lane when there were only two political parties in the Philippines, the Nacionalistas and the Liberals. But through time, more and more political parties came in. Now there are even party list parties, etc., parties of one, etc. So I can no longer distinguish who was who in our history. But being the president of the Liberal Party, who do you remember or who can you recall as the pillars of the Liberal Party, and where did it start, or how do you know how did the Liberal Party come to be?
Well, the Liberal Party was founded by the late President Manuel Rojas as
Mhm.
a spin-off from the Nacionalista Party. And the party has an illustrious past. It deserves an illustrious present and future. And among the icons of the party were no less than 4 presidents. We have Manuel Rojas, then Elpidio Quirino, Gustavo Macapagal, and Benigno Aquino III. In fact, Ramon Magsaysay came originally from the Liberal Party. So we have very enviable legacies like democratic liberalism, respect for the rule of law, protection of human rights, good government and accountability, progressive taxation, campaign against despotism, and genuine people empowerment. We are going to sustain and enhance on these legacies of the party. And we will be ready to unite and strengthen the crusade with good government and public service.
But back then, in the 40s, the 50s, because there were only 2 parties, then the minority was automatically the opposition party. Now, in today's reality, where you can no longer differentiate, everything is gray, no longer black and white. Does it follow that the Liberal Party is an opposition party, or what sort of stance does the group take regarding the administration?
Well, presently, I have to admit, Cito, that there are only 8 members of the Liberal Party in the House of Representatives. And majority of the members are with the super majority coalition. 1 is with the minority, and I am the only one in the genuine opposition. But we will have to make a better and new stance on that, because the Liberal Party should be a steadfast, credible, independent, and judicious opposition party. The importance of an opposition party flourishing in a deliberative assembly like the House of Representatives was underscored by no less than the French thinker Alexis de Tocqueville, who said, the majority not only makes the laws, but can break them as well. That is why there is a need for a strong, independent, credible opposition in the Congress.
Okay, now having said that, what is your assessment, or how did all of this come to be that parang everything is transactional and negotiable? Not necessarily in a bad way, but it seems that politics in the Philippines has become a matter of bargaining, trade-offs, etc. Is this because people got tired of political bickerings and conflict, or does it tell us that negotiations and compromise is the accepted norm in the Philippines, and that we should just really level up and become more mature of this reality?
The problem really is patronage, political patronage is given premium over principled politics. That is the problem. You know, when a new administration comes in, virtually all members of the political parties would join the administration. And that happens every time in the Philippines. So the opposition is depleted. It's virtually non-existing. And even the majority coalition would anoint its own minority leader and co-opt the entire minority members. That is why the deliberative assembly becomes a stampede of the administration and the political the major political coalition. And
So-
this trend should be stopped. We should have more principled politics rather than patronage.
Yeah, but where did we go wrong, Congressman Lagman? Because I remember batang-bata ka pa noon, you know, if you wanted to witness intelligence, eloquence, real intellectual debates on real concerns, all you have to do is just go to the House of Representatives, go to the Philippine Senate, sit by the gallery. And in fact, in those days, talagang umuupo ang tao sa gallery. My father would make me carry his attaché case, and I would sit by the gallery and I would hear people go, the honorable representative from so-and-so is totally out of his mind. Yung mga sabi ko, oh my God, it's only in these hallowed halls where people can insult each other but remain as gentlemen. But nowadays, parang, you know, where did we go wrong? Genuine opposition no longer seems to exist.
Well, you are correct, Cito. I remember during the 8th, 9th, and 10th Congresses, there were very instructive debates in the House of Representatives. I recall debating several times with the late Pabling Garcia from the agrarian reform to the abolition of the death penalty and other important issues. In fact, our debates were quoted by the Supreme Court in several decisions. Now the problem is the majority members are told by the leadership just to toe the line, not to speak anymore, but just to vote. During the budget hearings, for example, majority members were asked not to ask questions anymore, not to interpolate. So there was no proper discussion of the issues. Only members of the Makabayan Bloc and this representation were constantly asking questions and interpolating the sponsors of the various budget proposals. That is what's happening now. As much as possible, members are being silenced. And there is no deliberative assembly anymore. And that is a tragedy in a congressional assembly.
Okay, but is this tragedy also a consequence of the suspicion that many opposition party, regardless of what they call themselves, have been diminished or have been infected by anti-government, let's just call it, leftist, communist rebel philosophies or ideologies. Because dati, you generally all came from the same walk of life. It was more party principles and not really ideology. And now the opposition has been red tagged, has been accused of ideological fanaticism, etc. And that's why you have reduced in numbers, and now you've essentially been shut out.
Well, that is a malevolent accusation against the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not true that members of the opposition are leftist-leaning and also are members of subversive groups. That is the expletive being pronounced by people like Badoy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the Supreme Court is even asking her to explain why she should not be held in contempt for threatening a judge, a good judge who decided a case against the government. I am really amazed how people who are ultra-rightists would label opposition members as communists or leftists and ragtag them. I think there must be a law. We have to enact a law punishing red-tagging as a special offense so that we could prevent these malevolent accusations and labeling of opposition members.
Okay, Congressman Lagman, now that you mentioned the Communist Party, whatever happened to the movement, 15 years ago, where government and legislators had actually welcomed representations or representatives for the Communist Party of the Philippines? Kumbaga, parang legalize them, let them be part of Congress, of government, and we won't have to shoot each other in the boondocks.
Well, we have repealed the anti-subversion law.
Okay.
And membership in the Communist Party is legal. But we have the anti-terror law, which would label members of the Communist Party as terrorists. And that is the decision of the trial court, that the Communist Party is not a terror group. And this is the one being pilloried by people like Badoy. And I hope that we could instill in our public that being in the opposition is not being pro-communist. And being vigilant and critical is not a red stain on our colleagues and members of the legislature.
So, are you guys inclined, or would you recommend that we work out for the Communist Party of the Philippines to have elected or representation in Congress?
Well, there is no ban on that. It's a legal organization, provided they are not going to advocate a violent overthrow of the government. They are welcome to participate in the parliamentary process. There is no ban or bar against membership in Congress of the Communist Party. I don't recall that there is such a prohibition, as long as it should channel its efforts through legal and legitimate means.
Okay, would you recommend to President Bongbong Marcos to take a more proactive stance, or appoint someone to babysit this process so that the Communist Party can just become another political party? Because, I mean, that is the case in Europe. In Europe, there are many countries where the Communist Party is a political party.
Well, I don't intend to make such recommendation to the president. The president would know whom to appoint, and I feel that after the important or key members of the cabinet vacated their position in so short a tenure, they will be the vetting process would be improved, and political affiliation or partisan affiliation, although it would be part of the process, should not be given ascendancy over, say, talent, merit, experience.
Okay.
And
Congressman, let's go for a very quick break, 1 minute lang. And when we return, I just want to do a really past series of questions with you regarding this selection of cabinet members, Lorraine Badoy, the pork in the barrel of the budget. Okay, we'll be right back after 1 minute. The Liberal Party of the Philippines, none other than Congressman Edcel Lagman, who is also the first district representative of Albay. Congressman Lagman, let's spin it up, okay, or speed it up. I mean, you were commenting on the vetting process, the resignation of the 3 cabinet members. What in your mind is going on? How do you view the situation? Good, bad, or what?
well, in the first place, we will have to find out really whether the resignations were voluntary or forced resignations. Now, it is really unfortunate that those who resigned, at least 2 of them, were the ones closest to the president. The executive secretary, who is known as the little president, and the press secretary, who doubles as the president's spokesperson. And it is really unfortunate, as I would say, that they departed too soon.
Why does it
And
matter? Why does it
during the
matter
time
if sorry, Congressman, why does it matter if the person or the individuals resigned or was forced to resign?
well, if they were forced to resign, there must be some reasons why they were forced to resign. Is it because of lack of qualification? Is it because of questions of integrity? And if that is so, then the vetting process was really flawed, because this could have been determined early on. There should be no triviality in the search process. And as I was saying, in the case of President Aquino III and the past President Rodrigo Duterte, their respective executive secretaries remain up to the last day.
Mhm.
There has been no change at all. But in this case, the closest affiliate of the president served only for about 70 or less, or more or less, days in office. What could we say about that? That was not vetted properly. And I would say that those who say that they are resigning because of health reasons, in the first place, the search committee should have found out what was their medical condition, if they were really prepared to serve more. Because, Cito, we should not waste money, public money, on the emoluments of undeserving functionaries. Or we should not waste time, forfeit time, on those people who do not really deserve to be in the cabinet.
Okay, now what would be the impact? Because today is the 98th day of the administration. We traditionally give him a 100-day honeymoon with the media. That ends on Saturday. By Monday, bakbakan na naman. And having 3 resignations, and then you, and I mean no offense to you because konti lang naman ang tanda mo sa akin, but you know, he's now, half of his cabinet are now all retirees.
Recycled.
Oh, well, that that didn't come from me. That came from you.
Well, I think the president has to focus on the vetting process. Get the truly qualified people to serve his official family. It is not paying political debts. It's not giving premium to partisan credentials. I think we should, the government should emphasize on qualification, talent, merit, experience, and integrity.
Okay, but someone has suggested, and I think not just someone, but several individuals have suggested that more than the vetting process, the problem is some people, or at least in the case of 2 of those 3 who resigned, they essentially found themselves excluded. That there is now a solid cordon sanitaire or a hedge of protection around Bongbong Marcos, and it is composed of immediate relatives. And it has become impossible for just any cabinet member to get to the president. They have to go through certain family members or a very select few political allies of BBM. Kumbaga, access to the president is on a need-to-know basis.
Well, I am not truly aware of that cordon sanitaire, but it is possible it could happen. I think that is a familial dominance dating back to martial law. So we are just trying to copy what has been done during the time of his father. But to my mind, Cito,
could you elaborate on that, Congressman? that it is a copy of the time of Ferdinand Marcos Sr.?
We knew of the familial cordon sanitaire during that time.
Mhm.
We now have past failed programs of the president being revived, like the Kadiwa and the Masagana 99. We have the promise of the president to extend the specialty hospitals to the regions, when in fact what is necessary in the regions and in the provinces would be basic health care, not specialty care.
Mhm.
And all of these are being recycled. The recycling is not only with respect to officials, but it is also with respect to programs.
You said familial dominance. Amy Marcos has been quoted as saying that she has been excluded from the circle, that she does not have access to her own brother. I have heard directly from other relatives, even from the Romualdez side, that they say, except for one Romualdez, the rest of the Romualdezes are no longer have access to BBM. What have you heard about this?
I have not heard much about that, Cito, but it is very possible that's happening. But I have no personal knowledge or indirect knowledge about that.
Mm-hmm. So what if such a situation exists? How would it reflect in governance when your own cabinet officials don't have immediate or easy access to you as the president?
Then there will be an errant sense of governance, because you have your official family. The official family should have ready access to the president, because they are the chosen advisors and counselors of the president. But if they are barred from seeing the president, then that would not be a good sign of just governance. And Cito, I would like to underscore the fact that the president easily was resigned to the resignation of his cabinet members. He has forgone them and has not even defended them. You recall in the case of the former President Duterte, despite all of the batikos on the health secretary, he continued to defend him. I think the president should be able to defend his choices. But if his choices were really bad in the first place, then let it go.
Yeah, but I think what made it worse is the fact that it was so cold and so indifferent, because Vic Rodriguez heard that he was no longer part of the Malacanang circle through Lucas Bersamin. And then Trixie Angeles Cruz was not included in the list or part of those who would be taking their oaths. So in short, parang hindi ka kasali sa guest list eh. Bye-bye.
Well, that is correct. You know, if you appoint someone, you should be able to defend that person if truly qualified. But in this case, I think I go back to the vetting process. The appointments were rushed. Nobody was rushing the president to make the appointments. He had his time to make the appointments and make good, valid, and lasting appointments. But he failed to do that.
Okay.
He was not top of the situation, in other words.
Okay. Now, Congressman, let's go back to that thing about red tagging, Lorraine Badoy now being called by the Supreme Court for show cause. Now, I was just wondering, why is everyone focusing on the puppet and not the puppet master? I think you understand my
Mhm.
figure of speech, because
Mhm.
Lorraine Badoy is an undersecretary. She must be accountable to someone. And
Mhm.
if she is allowed to just go wild, quote unquote, then you would think that, someone is authorizing this, someone is orchestrating this. Will we end up crucifying the wrong person ultimately? Because okay, Lorraine is the mouth, but what about well, okay, I just got a correction here. She is a former NTF LCAC. But what is she now? Is she just a private individual? If she's private, sorry na lang, mag-explain na lang siya doon sa Supreme Court. But
Oh, well,
someone must be behind this.
well, we have asked that question several times on what is the official position of Lorraine Badoy. And there was no categorical answer. I don't know whether she's still an official of the government, whether she holds an official position, or she's a private person acting like an official. But
Mhm.
there are two modes of castigating errant people. One is to make the person who articulated the offense to be responsible, and that is the mouth. And another is to look for the brain, who instigated, who instructed, who authorized.
Mhm.
These are two things we have to do. And we are doing that. We are not just zeroing on the one who articulated the red tagging, but we
Mhm.
are also asking that the authorities behind that should also be made responsible. That is why it is important that we have an anti-red tagging law, so that both the principal and the accomplice, both the the brain as well as the mouthpiece, would be culpable.
Okay, let's move on with other concerns. You recently made statements regarding so much pork in the barrel. Essentially, the government of the budget for 2023, you said had too much pork, or kumbaga maraming perang mananakaw o magagamit. Now, pork or pork barrel is historically something that goes to legislators. So, you are part of the legislation. So, what's going on here?
Well, I talk about the excessive and unnecessary confidential and intelligence funds,
Hmm.
which would be breeding corruption, because their utilization is not known, and even the COA audit is not disclosed to the Congress and to the public. So they are shrouded in secrecy and mystery.
Not
That is
even
why
under executive session, Congressman,
we have not conducted any executive session,
for
and
COA?
for COA. Then I would suppose that even under an executive session, they will also claim the confidentiality of these funds would bar them from making the disclosures. If that is so, then I ask Congress to be more judicious and frugal in the allocation of confidential and intelligence funds. For example, in the office of the Vice President, uh, uh, the, the office is asking for 500 million pesos,
Mhm.
and uh, for confidential funds. And in the office of the department secretary of DepEd, uh, what is being asked is 150 million pesos, or a total of 650 million pesos under the vice president. But the Department of Education is not a surveillance agency. It has no direct jurisdiction over security matters. And with respect to the and that's with respect to the Office of the President, with respect to the Department of Justice and Department of Education. It is not a detective agency. As a matter of fact, the novels of Agatha Christie and the exploit of Sherlock Holmes are not staple reading for basic education.
Yeah, but Congressman, I think the mistake here is that we often attach the issue, the legitimate issue, to a political target, which is why people don't really react appropriately. In this case, the target is Sara Duterte, so it has become, from a legitimate issue, which is why our government departments being given or allowed to have intelligence funds that are even far bigger than the funds we give to the PNP, the Bureau of Immigration, the Coast Guard, etc. So am I correct in saying that if we gather all of the intelligence funds that are being appropriated to these non-law enforcement departments or offices, it would equal the budget of maybe the Bureau of Immigration, if not more, or the entire budget of the NBI, etc.?
That's correct. That's correct. And the totality of the intelligence and confidential funds embedded in various agencies, offices, departments would be in about 9.26 billion.
9.26
billion.
26 billion.
Yes, and half of that is the intelligence and confidential fund of the Office of the President, which amounts to 4.5 billion.
Okay.
And the confidential and intelligence funds of the Office of the President would be bigger than the budget for, say, the Commission on the Civil Service Commission, the Commission on Human Rights.
How about the PNP?
The PNP has a smaller intelligence and confidential fund compared to the President.
Their entire allocation, their entire budget for
because the PNP belongs to the Department of the Interior.
DILG.
They have, I think, a bigger budget.
But if you isolate the budget of the PNP or the budget of the NBI, how much are we talking?
It will be bigger than the 4.5 billion allocated to the President's confidential and intelligence.
But still not enough.
At the moment, I don't have the figures.
Okay, but are we in agreement, Congressman Lagman, that if all of these intelligence funds were just put together, because if I'm sure you've noticed, the Bureau of Immigration is having problems just dealing with all the illegal aliens coming into the country from China, and then they can't even have a proper building, an office. What they're using now as their main office is the equivalent of a bodega for the COMELEC or some other agency of government.
That's why I have been asking that this intelligence and confidential funds should be reduced to the minimum, and it should be allocated to agencies which would need them, and to reallocate what could be saved to important projects and programs of the government, like, for example, the scholarship program under CHED, the Sitio electrification, the education for special children, the libreng pasaje program.
But would your colleagues in Congress support that, Congressman? Because at the end of the day, I don't know. It kind of makes you wonder why this issue, which has existed for decades and through several Congress, you've talked about this in so many other Congresses in the past, but nothing was ever achieved.
Well, I am confident that in this Congress, there would be reduction in the confidential and intelligence funds. I am not yet privy to how much has been reduced or it has already been reduced, but I am expecting a reduction. And I hope it would be adequate enough.
What is acceptable to you? How many percent reduction would be acceptable to you and would be, kumbaga, pwede na?
Well, in the case of the office of the Vice President, there were previous Vice Presidents who had also confidential funds, but the biggest was 9 million only. And I would suggest that the 500 million should be reduced to 10 million. And also with respect to the Department of Education, there has been no precedent on this. But just so that it will not be zero, it could be given a 1 million confidential fund. You know, Cito, the confidential fund of NICA is only 1 billion.
The National Intelligence Agency only has 1 billion.
1 billion in a confidential fund. Of course, it has intelligence funds also, but lower, much lower than what the Office of the Vice President is getting. Now, with respect to the Office of the President, the intelligence fund and confidential fund of the office ballooned during the time of President Duterte. But before President Duterte, during the time of President Macapagal Arroyo and President Benigno Aquino III, it was only in the vicinity of about 500 million or 1 billion in totality. So I would suggest that we could go back to that, have a little increase because of inflation, but definitely not the amount of 4.5 billion.
Do you have any other targets as far as budget slashes go?
Well, there are appropriations which could not be implemented within the fiscal year 2023. Like, for example, those in the Department of Transportation, for example. So most probably the small committee which was created can reduce this budget so that it can be reallocated to more urgent and necessary programs and projects of the government.
Okay, last question, Congressman. What's your position regarding POGO?
Well, POGO has spawned so many criminal and health complications in the country. I would really suggest and would recommend and agree that we should forgo with the POGO.
Okay, forgo with the POGO. In other words, no to POGO. Once again, Congressman Edcel Lagman, thank you very much for spending time with us today here on Agenda. May you continue to enjoy your great health, your wisdom, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, Cito, for this opportunity to have an interview and interaction with you.
Okay, that's Congressman Edcel Lagman, 1st District Representative of Albay. Let's now go to our blessing for the week. And as I've said in the previous days, it comes from the song written by J.J. Heller, My Hands to Hold. Okay, and it is My Hand to Hold, I mean. May you never lose the wonder in your soul. May you always have a blanket for the cold. May the living light inside you be the compass as you go. May you always know you have my hand to hold. And that's it for me today here on Agenda. Thank you very much for joining us. And please include us in your prayers that the Lord would protect me and my family and our health. And may He do so likewise to you and your families. God bless all of you. Please keep it here on One News.